Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
He's laughing his sick fucking ass off. He's a tight ass. He's a sadist.
Okay, when I introduce you, I'm gonna say, this is a friend of mine. That means you're a connected guy. Now, if I said instead, this is a friend of ours, that would mean you were a made guy. Capiche?
Boys, we're back in business.
Our true enemy has not yet shown his face.
Brother, you are going down.
Hooah!
You down the jeweler? Yeah. There's some beautiful thing.
Why don't you give it to your wife?
I'm asking you to middle a diamond for me here.
What I'm saying to you is you should give it to somebody that don't know any better, because that's a fugazi. All right?
How do you know it's a fugazi? You looked at it for 2 seconds.
What, it's a fake?
Yeah, I know what a fugazi is.
What do you want me to say? Go ahead, try and sell it. You want to be a Dunsky. Give it a shot.
You call me a Dunsky? You know who you're talking to, my friend? In all the 5 boroughs, I'm known. Forget about it. I'm known all over the fucking world. Anybody ask anybody about Lefty from Mulberry Street. Huh? You pissing up the wrong fucking tree, my friend.
Hello everyone, Jeff 101 Bronson back here today with yet another installment of my Al Pacino retrospective review series. This is episode 13 of the 2nd season, and today we're covering another one of my absolute favorite of the man in a familiar role as a gangster. We're talking, of course, about the 1997 crime drama Donnie Brasco, directed by Mike Newell, and starring Al Pacino, Johnny Depp, Michael Madsen, Bruno Kirby, James Russo, Heche, and Robert Miano, among others. Based on a true life story of former FBI agent Joseph Pistone, who successfully infiltrated and lived the dangerous life of the mafia for about 5 to 6 years. This is a criminally, pardon the pun, underrated movie in my opinion. Underrated gangster movie, and a definite top 10 Pacino film for me. So, you know, a warning right off the bat, this is more than likely going to be a gush fest on my end, a outpouring of my love for this movie, so to speak. So yeah, this is going to be, I'm looking forward to this one. Let's get into the review for 1997's Donnie Brasco. Without any further ado, here we go. The plot of the movie goes as follows. This true story follows FBI agent Joe Pistone, played by Johnny Depp, as he infiltrates the New York Bonanno mafia family. Befriending Lefty Ruggiero, played by Al Pacino, Pistone, under the name of Donnie Brasco, is able to embed himself into the mafia faction led by Sonny Black, played by Michael Madsen. Ruggiero and Pistone become tight as the group goes about collecting money for the bosses. Eventually, the group become big time when Black himself becomes a boss. All the while, Pistone collects evidence. However, the trials and tribulations of the undercover work become more than Pistone can bear. His marriage falls apart, and to top it all off, the mafia suspect the mole in the organization. The real dilemma is afforded to Pistone, who knows that if he walks away from the mafia, Ruggiero will without doubt be the one that's punished. It's a fantastic film about the mafia dealing with friendship and loyalty. Loyalty not only to one's friends, but also to one's duty for their country. This is the struggle that Depp's character is dealing with, and I think he does an absolutely amazing job in this. Before I saw this movie, I honestly never was the biggest fan of Johnny Depp, but he absolutely blew me away with his performance here and made a believer out of me. He's a wonderful actor, but this is for me personally the best role he's ever played, and his chemistry with Al Pacino is absolutely electrifying. Speaking of Pacino, it goes without saying he does yet another fantastic job here once again as Lefty. Even though it's another gangster role for him, it's still vastly different from the other gangsters he has played so far. Lefty is a low-level, old-school made guy who's been in the trenches for years but has always been stepped over by the higher-ups and feels he deserves more. This is definitely one of the more subdued Pacino performances from the 90s, definitely the era where he became known for being, you know, going big and bombastic and over the top with shouting, etc. Even though there are 1 or 2 scenes where he definitely raises his voice here, he's without doubt more quiet and subdued and plays absolutely wonderfully. Without spoiling too much, he has some very heartfelt moments and scenes in this movie which are expertly handled and always get me emotionally. Michael Madsen does terrific in this as well as Sonny Black. I've always found Madsen to be quite an underrated actor, definitely deserving to be mentioned in the same breath as Pacino and De Niro, etc. for me. He was excellent in Reservoir Dogs, and of course, for many that will be the highlight role for him, and I'd actually agree with that, but for me, this role here in this movie of Sonny Black would come pretty damn close as well. Top marks to him for sure. Michael Madsen, another highlight in this already terrific movie. And Heche is great here too as Depp's lonely, concerned and abandoned wife, a plot point that, by the way, is made up entirely for the film. According to the real Pistone, he had no marriage issues during the undercover period. I've not seen Heche in too many other films, but from what I have seen, she was a very talented actress who sadly passed away not too long ago. Her performance in this movie will definitely live on, and she's yet another highlight in this. The rest of the cast do amazing as well. Bruno Kirby and James Russo, who play the other members of the mob crew, do a fantastic job and definitely fit the parts they play. Trivia time: the role of Nicky, played by Bruno Kirby, was originally offered to Joe Pesci, who turned down as he had just done, of course, both Goodfellas and Casino and didn't want to be typecast further as a wise guy. It would have been interesting had Pesci been in it, but I'm happy enough with Kirby's performance, and he plays the part fine with some nice comedic moments to line the mood as well. Mike Newell, a director definitely not known for gangster movies, does a fantastic job in directing the film and conveying the sense of realism and accurately portraying the 70s era in which the film is set. Some more trivia: real-life former Made guy Michael Francis has on numerous occasions praised this film for the authenticity of the mob-style life in this particular era, and as that was the era he was active in, and it's one of his top personal favorite mob films as well. So yeah, Michael Francis considers it one of his favorites, as is mine, I should add, as we're wrapping up. Acting, directing, story and dialogue, as well as the soundtrack, are all on point in this one for me. The movie, upon release, received generally positive reviews from both audiences and critics, though sadly, come award season, the film was largely ignored, only being nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay by the Oscars. For me, this should have been the opportunity for another Oscar-nominated or winning performance for Pacino. What a shock. The Academy denied the legend once again. Not even Depp got nominated, which I feel he also deserved as well, but oh well. The movie made on an estimated budget of about $35 million, made about $125 million worldwide. So a modest success, for sure. For me, this is an absolute masterpiece and one of the last great god-tier level mob movies. No flaws in this one for me, 10 stars out of 10, perfect score. Possibly my favorite of all the films Pacino did in the 90s as well, and that's quite a feat. But anyway, I love Donnie Brasco, and it's highly recommended if you haven't seen it already. Check it out. So yeah, there you guys have it. That was my review for 1997's Donnie Brasco. Like I said, it's a definite favorite of mine, a definite top 10 Pacino film. It's so underrated when you talk about gangster movies. Like, you know, everybody, and you know, rightfully so, but everybody always brings up The Godfather or, you know, Scarface, which, as you all know, is my favorite movie of all time. You know, Goodfellas, Casino, those are sort of the regular mentions when it comes to gangster films, right? And, you know, maybe like a movie like Bronx Tale will get mentioned, and then people will be like, well, Donnie Brasco is another great one. Also, Carlito's Way is another one that gets mentioned after the big hitters have been mentioned. It definitely deserves to be mentioned among the big hitters for me, Donnie Brasco. Like I said, it's such an amazing film. I was never really a fan of Johnny Depp before I saw this film. I mean, I saw, you know, when I was a kid, I saw like one or two of the Pirates of the Caribbean films and stuff, and I thought he was, you know, cool as Captain Jack Sparrow and stuff. But it was not like he sort of turned into one of my favorite actors. With this film, though, he turned into a very, very respectable actor for me, and somebody I admire and respect a whole lot as an actor. Yeah, and I watched, you know, quite a few of his movies afterwards. I've seen plenty of movies that the man was in, and you know, he's very versatile. He can play a lot of different characters. And yeah, with this movie, this might be my favorite acting performance by him, because he really, really sold the character to me in this one. He really did a fantastic job. And then Al Pacino has never been this sort of underrated, in my opinion, as a sort of Al Pacino role, because he's more understated. He's not really the loud, bombastic Pacino of the 90s. There's maybe one or two scenes where he might raise his voice a little bit, but overall, this is a very subdued, sort of understated, more of an understated performance. And I absolutely love it. I think this one should have at least got him another nomination, or dare I say it, even another Oscar win, because, yeah, but instead, snubbed once again. No nominations for Pacino, no nominations for Depp, even though, again, I would say Johnny Depp deserved a nomination for this one for his acting performance. Criminally underrated and overlooked, even by the fucking Academy. There you go. And to top it all off, the film is directed by Mike Newell, who I think is best known for directing the the film, Four Weddings and a Funeral, which couldn't be further away from Donnie Brasco. Hats off to him, you know, a Brit tackling a, you know, American gangster movie, and, you know, making a gangster movie that for me stands up with the greatest. It's hats off to Mike Newell. So yeah, anyway, that's basically my review for Donnie Brasco right now. Again, I love the movie, 10 out of 10. Can't believe it's as underrated as it is. I mean, when I first watched it, I was like, why have I never heard of this movie? You know, when I first watched it, when I went through all the Pacino films. I will add a caveat to my viewing experience of the film. I've always watched the director's cut or the extended version that is here on this Blu-ray disc. And yeah, it says it on the disc, extended cut. My DVD that I originally had was the extended cut, so I'm very accustomed. I'm only used to the extended cut. I've seen the theatrical cut once or twice, you know, during night shifts when I, you know, browse Netflix and they have Donnie Brasco on there. It's usually the theatrical cut that they have on there. So it was very jarring for me when I watched the theatrical cut. I was like, oh wait, that scene that I love so much is missing here, and the gruesome scene where they're chopping limbs of the gangsters, that's more extended in this version and the extended cut, and that was very trimmed down in the theatrical cut. I was like, oh, all the gore is missing. So I will always prefer the extended cut, but this is an interesting debate. Let me know if you prefer the extended cut or the theatrical cut. I think there's only a difference of like between 15 to 20 minutes, I would say, maybe. But I do love the added scenes. Well, again, it's the version I'm most accustomed to, so it might be just because of that, but I prefer the extended cut for that one. Anyway, that's it for Donnie Brasco. Join me next week for another devilishly underrated and evil Pacino film. I love this one, again, from the same year, 1997. It's interesting because in this one, in Donnie Brasco, Pacino teamed up with a younger actor in the form of Johnny Depp, and he would do so in the same year for this movie. He would team up with Keanu Reeves for 1997's The Devil's Advocate. Virtue is in his loins, or whatever the quote is. I mean, I'll have to rewatch this one again, but there's some really, really memorable Pacino moments, shouting moments, dialogue moments, monologue, whatever you want to call it, speeches. This film is an absolute delight, and again, one that I really, really love, and I might not love it as much as Donnie Brasco, but I think when I did my top 10 Pacino film video a couple of years ago, I think this was in the top 10, so this is definitely a highlight for me and a favorite of mine. So yeah, we're on a really good roll here in the 90s. I mean, we only had one or two minor films in the 90s that I thought was a little bit lesser, but overall his run in the 90s equals, you know, or rivals, I would say, his run in the 70s, which is like bam, bam, bam of fantastic movies. So yeah, next week, The Devil's Advocate, join me for that one. As always, this has been 101 Bronson signing off here, and saying to you all, stay safe and healthy and keep punching. And we'll see you next week for The Devil's Advocate. Take care. So long for now. Hooah!
Don't see tomorrow.
You're not gonna see me tomorrow, for your information. I got news for you, Donnie. You won't see me tomorrow. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and wise guys don't work on Mother's Day.
You're a cocksucker.